Hi, my name is Gene Luen Yang, and I'm a cartoonist. Welcome to First Second's Sketch School. This right here is my latest graphic novel. It's called Dragon Hoops. It's a non-fiction story about a high school basketball team that I followed for the 2014-2015 season, the Bishop O'Dowd Dragons out of Oakland, California. Today, I'm going to teach you how to draw one of the characters out of this book, a guy named Coach Lou, who is an actual real person who's actually my friend, but I'm going to teach you how to draw the cartoon version of him. So let's get started. I'm going to be drawing in Procreate. This is actually a piece of software that my friend Tin Fan turned me on to. Tin and I did a book for First Second a while ago called Level Up. So I did the writing and he did the drawing. Now, all of my heads start with circles. So I'm going to start with this circle right here, and then I'm going to do a chin. So cartoon Coach Lou's head has this super square chin. Real Coach Lou does not have such a square chin. I'll show you a photo of real Coach Lou later on. Then I'll do where his eyes are. I'll do a line for where his eyes are. In a real photo, like with a real head, the eye line is usually down here. It's usually more like halfway between the top of the head and the bottom. It would be like right here. But for cartoon Lou, I usually put the eye line a little bit higher. Then I'll do a line that is the middle of his face, a vertical line going down the middle of his face. And I'll also do a line that shows where the end of his face is going to be. So at this point, I could do the eyes. I'll start with these circular eyes. I'm going to switch pens. I don't really like this cert pen. Let's go to Tinderbox. Okay. And then cartoon Lou has this kind of biggish nose. Real Lou's nose is not so big. Give him a circle, give him a smile. I'll fill out his eyes here. And then the ears usually go from the top of the eyes, around the top of the eyes to the bottom of the nose. So do that like that. And then give him his eyebrows. And then I'll do his neck, give him a collar. All of this is sketching, right? These are not my final lines. I'll ink on top of this. A lot of artists are good enough to skip the inking part. I am not one of those artists. One of the things I like about comics is that it's this combination of words and pictures, right? I feel like I'm a mediocre artist and a mediocre writer. And what I can do in comics is I can use one to cover up my weaknesses in the other. So here I'm going to do his head. And he's in his 40s. In the book, he's in his 40s. So I gave him some wrinkles in, on the sides of his nose and under his eyes. And there is the sketch layer of Coach Lou. Okay, next what I'm going to do, I'm going here. I'm going to lower the opacity of my sketch layer. And then I'm going to go in and draw my actual lines. So this is like, if I were doing this on traditional media, this is where I would be inking. Start with the chin here first. I'm going to do the ear. I'm going to do the eyes. Another eye here. I'll leave a little bit of shine and color in the rest of the pupil. Do his nose. So I've sometimes been asked, especially since Dragon Hoops is a nonfiction book, why I don't try to draw my cartoon characters so they look more like the actual people that I am portraying. Part of it is I'm not that awesome of a cartoonist. I'm not very good at caricatures. But part of it is also that I want my characters to be distinctive in the book. So I want you to be able to tell at first glance which character it is that you're reading. I have this theory that the characters of a comic book or a graphic novel have to work like the characters of an alphabet. So each of them has to be distinctive. So I'm going to do a little bit of texture on the collar on this side as well. And here's his tie. And his vest. So all of the coaches at Bishop O'Dowd High School wear these vests, these black vests and yellow ties. And so that's what we have them wear in the comic as well. Coach Lou has this neatly cropped, neatly maintained goatee. I draw it as a rectangle, and then I also give him a cleft in his chin. In real life, that cleft is very minimal. So what I often like to do is I like to look at the reverse of my drawing to see if I did anything wrong. And I feel like this looks a little weird. A lot of times, and I think his neck looks too long too, huh? So I'm going to move all of this up a little bit. This is one of my favorite things about drawing on computers. You can make these sorts of changes very easily. So often when you look at the mirror image of your drawing, you can see some of the mistakes that you made. I think your brain tries to trick you into thinking you're a better artist than you actually are. And looking at the mirror image of what you've drawn can sometimes get around that. All right. That's not bad. Not saying it's awesome either, but I think it's good enough. Okay. So I'm going to fill in my blacks by using a thicker brush. In Dragon Hoops, I purposely did not fill in my blacks all the way because I wanted it to look like hand drawings. Dragon Hoops is actually the very first graphic novel that I did completely on computer. The other books that I've drawn that have been published by First Second Books, American Born Chinese and Boxers and Saints, I drew by hand on traditional media, on paper, basically. And then all my friends who were younger, all my cartoonist friends who were younger, told me that if I drew on computer, I could go faster. I have not found that to be the case, but I did find that certain things are way easier when I'm drawing on computer. Things like this, things like erasing and flipping and doing these smaller edits are much easier. Okay. All right. So I think that's good. I'm going to reverse this back now. And then I'm going to make this sketch layer disappear. And then let's color it. So on Procreate, you can color by simply dragging and dropping from that circle up top. These are palettes. Some of these palettes were made by me. Some of these palettes were made by my kids. Procreate's such an awesome program that my kids love playing with it. Okay, and then I'm gonna give him his yellow tie. Let's use this one right here. All right, and then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take the whites out of his eyes. Right there's one. And there's another one. I didn't do the coloring on the actual book. The coloring in the actual Dragon Hoops book is done by my good friend Lark Pian. Lark and I have been friends for a really long time, and she's colored all the books that I've drawn for first second books. She's colored American Born Chinese and Boxers and Saints, and now Dragon Hoops. Dragon Hoops was particularly difficult because it's real people. So I ended up having to send her a bunch of photos of uniforms and what actual people's faces and hair look like. Even though my cartoon faces didn't look exactly like the real ones, we wanted to at least get it in the same ballpark. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some shadow to him. Now, this is something that I actually learned from my son. He's 16 years old. He's always been interested in art. And I would never tell him this in person, but some point like a year or two ago, he got like way better than me. So he, especially at digital drawing, you know, he just has figured out all sorts of amazing and awesome stuff. So if you use purple to do some of this, I'll show you. It looks weird now, but later, maybe I don't want to do the whole year. Maybe I want to do just most of it. Later, you can drop a lot of this off, and it looks good. I'll show you in a second. All right, and maybe down under his brow too, do a little bit. All right, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna take all that purple and I'm gonna go here, and first I'm gonna change this layer to darken so that all of the black line art underneath will show. And then second is I'm gonna move the opacity down. So when I move the opacity down, you can see it just looks like it's a shadow. Not an awesome color job, but that's why I work with Lark, right? So that she can help me out with all the stuff that I'm really not good at. All right. I think we're right about done. Let me show you what real Lou looks like. Let me turn on this layer. So there he is. There's cartoon Lou and real Lou. Real Lou is obviously way more handsome than cartoon Lou. Thank you again for joining me here at First Second Sketch School. I hope you'll come back. We have some amazing artists coming up who are actually, frankly, way better than me, and they're going to show you how to draw these beautiful, beautiful characters from their books. So please come back. I'll talk to you soon.